Hi, welcome to my kitchen. Today I want to show you different kitchen utensils, small appliances and large appliances, things that you might find in an ordinary kitchen. Some of them you might not. Some of these we have in our labs at school. First off is a standalone mixer. This happens to be a KitchenAid. We do have one in our lab, so if you're going to be using it, you might have to take turns using this one. But this one has several different beaters. The one that's in here right now is just for straight mixing. This happens to be a dough hook. If you're going to make bread, yeast breads, this is a great tool to have. Then this one is for beating egg whites and incorporating air into lots of different types of batters. So we'll leave this mixer and come over to, this is a hand mixer. And this is what every single kitchen has. It's just a small little electric mixer. You have to be very careful when you're using it so that when it's mixing, I always put my hand up like this so that it doesn't spatter all over everything. But always check to make sure you have the correct beaters that go into this one. This one, this is a small chopper. It's you put the food in here. I do onions, I do breadcrumbs, I do all kinds of things like that. You put that in there. You have to have this lid engaged, and you plug it in, you hit the pulse button, and it chops things. It's a very handy little chopper to have. This happens to be a food blender processor, and this is for larger quantities. It will even mix pie dough. You can cut coleslaw, make coleslaw out of cabbage. And this is the feeder for this one. This is an electric blender, and we have several of these in our kitchens. I don't remember seeing this. We don't have one of these, the food processor. But this is, you can chop all kinds of things in this to mix liquids. This is great for mixing liquids. This is an electric mandolin, and when it's plugged in, I'm going to plug this one in right now. I can't do that. When it's plugged in and you press on this, the mechanism goes back and forth, and you can slice, you can dice, you can grate. You know, it's like the commercials. You can do all kinds of things with it. And in the tray below it, get the lid off, there are all kinds of different attachments that go with this. And this is the thing that goes back and forth. But you put, this happens to make, where's it go? Right there. This happens to make slices, like long slices. This is a kind of a grater. That's a filler. This makes different levels of slices. So it does all kinds of things, different gratings. But it's kind of nice because it all holds together in this container, and I can keep everything together. And this is what will go back and forth as you're slicing. So it's kind of a handy little thing to have. Not a necessary thing for kitchens, but I like gadgets. This is the same kind of thing, but it's not electric. But it is a mandolin also, and you just move your food back and forth over the different. This happens to be a grater that's in here, and I can pull this one out and interchange the blades. This does slicing, and you can change thicknesses on that. So these are some just small electrical appliances. Okay, what we're going to look at now, since we're finished with the small kitchen appliances, is we're looking at the some different measuring tools here. These are for dry measure. We would use these for flour, sugar, and oatmeal, cornmeal, anything that's a dry ingredient. The other thing we would use them for is for solid shortenings, anything that's solid, like Crisco, peanut butter, anything liquid does not go in these, but those would be dry, solid substances. This is another kind of measuring tool. This is also for dry solids. It's a little difficult to measure liquids in this, but what you do is you look on here, and this is set for a 1/2 cup, so you know that you'd fill it to the level top, and a 1/2 cup would fit right in here. And then when you're done with it, all you have to do is give it a push, and it pushes it out into the bowl. It's kind of a handy tool. These are liquid measuring cups. So I have several different kinds. This is a 2 cup, this is 1 cup. This is a nest of liquid measuring cups. Liquids like milk, oil, water, molasses, honey, anything that pours, corn syrup. So that's what you would use for these. And these happen, like I said, these happen to nest. This one is a small one for tablespoons. When you're measuring like teaspoons, tablespoons, this one, liquid or dry, you have to use this for tablespoons. These are smaller. And these will measure 1/8, 1/4, 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon or 1.5 teaspoons, a tablespoon, and the big one is 4 teaspoons. So these are just a different set of measuring spoons, and you always have to check in your kitchen to look to see what one you have. And I forgot to mention on the cup dry measuring, this comes in 1/4, 1/3, 1/2. This set happens to have a 2/3 cup. Now if you didn't have a 2/3 cup and you needed 2/3, you would use the 1/3 2 times. That's where equivalents come in handy. So you have to use that 2 times. 3/4 cup and 1 cup. 3/4 cup it doesn't always show up in a measuring set, so that you would have to know would either be 3 1/4 or 1/2 and 1/4. This is a pastry blender, and when you're making your pie doughs, you're going to be using this to cut in, and you cut the flour and the shortening together. And some cookie doughs will have you cut in. So it's a pastry blender, very handy tool to use. This is called a mortar and pestle. Sometimes I use this to grind up different kinds of herbs. If I have some fresh herbs or I have dried herbs, depending upon what I have, you put it in here and you give it a twist and you grind it down. Sometimes if you have seeds that need to be ground down, you can use that for that there. This is just a novelty little tool. You fill this with frosting. There are some different tips that go up here, and you just press the bottom of this and your frosting goes out, and you can decorate cupcakes and cakes and cookies real quickly and really easily. Now think about what this might be. There are wires here and individual slots for the wires to fit through. What I use this for is put a hard cooked egg here, lays here, and you just press it down over the top and you have your egg slices. Works great on mushrooms, anything like eggs or mushrooms. Nothing very much harder because these little wires break very easily. But that's an egg slicer. Let's see. Oh, one of my favorite tools. This is an egg separator, and I brought an egg so you can see how this works. Some of you have probably separated eggs before, but this works much easier. And I forgot my knife, and I'm going to have to go get my knife. Okay, so you crack an egg, you separate it, break it open, and some people use the eggshells back and forth to separate, but this works so cool. You just hold it up and let the egg white fall through, and it's very gentle on the egg yolk usually. Come on. Give it just a little shake, and that egg yolk separates from the egg white, and there you have your egg white separated. Absolutely no yolk in that egg, in the egg white. So if you were making an angel food cake or meringue, this would be perfect. So I'm going to put my egg back in there because I don't need them separated. I'll set this back out of the way. These come in different sizes, and I use these for cookie dough, to scoop out different sizes of cookie dough. This one's small, medium, and large. The large one sometimes I use for meatballs. If I want to make meatballs, you just scoop it in, and it's like an ice cream scoop, but it works great for cookie dough. It makes everything very uniform. So those are cookie doughs. This is another little novelty item. If you make deviled eggs, you put the deviled egg mix in here, and it has different tips. I have some different tips. They can make different designs. Twice baked potatoes are pretty cool. You can mix your potatoes and mash them, and then put them inside here, and then you just press this, and this little moves it down, and you can fill your egg whites with your deviled egg mix, and it looks really neat, and it's a neat little tool. These are tongs to take food out of a pan, turn meat. If you're grilling, they're a little bit short for grilling, but they're a great tool to have. The last thing I wanted to show you in this group, this is an orange peeler. There's a side on it that's real sharp, and you're just going to score the orange, go around. I do it in force. You can find these in the stores. They look different. Every manufacturer has a different spin on how they make it. The other end, you just slide it underneath that peel that you just scored, and it lifts the peel. It's just a cool little tool. I use it constantly, all the time for oranges. You could use it on grapefruit too, if you like to peel your grapefruit. Then this little back part, you know how you get all this pulp left on here, you just scrape it along the side, and it pulls all that pulp away. So it's pretty cool. Not a necessary thing, but you'll find that I'm a tool junkie, so I have to have things like this. Okay, next set of tools. This is a meat pounder, and it's very versatile. Sometimes you'll have a recipe. One of them that I like is chicken piccata. This side is flat, and chicken piccata you have to take and you have to pound, and you're pounding the meat, you're pounding the chicken very, very flat and very thin to about 1/4 inch. So that's what this side is for. And then you can take and unscrew it. Oops. And the other side is real pointy. And some kinds of meats require you to pound them, but to tenderize them. So what these little points on here do is when you're pounding, it's cutting and it's chopping into those fibers, which makes the meat a little more tender. So it's a way of tenderizing a meat like a flank steak or London broil and making them just a little bit more tender. Those are cheaper cuts of meat, so this is a good way to have some really good meat and make it more tender. So this is a very versatile tool. This doesn't really have a name. It's a little sifter, and I always put powdered sugar in it. You screw the lid back on, and then the top of this, you can make, it has bigger holes. They're graded holes, graduated holes, smaller, and then fine. And all you do is just sprinkle powdered sugar or whatever you need to sprinkle on top of something. Very handy little tool when you need just something small like that. Very basic wooden spoon. And when you're stirring on the stove, you don't use a metal utensil, you always use a wooden utensil because this does not conduct heat, so it's much safer for your hands, it stays cool, and they're just a great tool to have in your kitchen. And your kitchens have several. This is called a rubber scraper. Now, these are not to be used to cook with or to stir with. They are to clean the bowl, clean out measuring cups and stuff. When you're cooking, stirring on the stove, always use the wooden spoon. Straightedge spatula. This is what I use and have you use to level off your measuring cups. And when I show you how to measure, you will see me use this tool quite often, but it's called a straightedge spatula. This is a wire whisk. You can use this to stir also in a bowl, in a pan, as long as it's not Teflon coated. If it's non-stick, Teflon coated, this metal will scratch. But this is a good way for when you're making puddings, and you will be making some puddings probably. This keeps it from getting lumpy and keeps them nice and smooth. It's great for that. Pastry brush. Use this to spread butter. Some of you like to use it to spread barbecue sauce on your chicken, on your pork chops, whatever but it's good for, and it's good for marinating. So very handy tool. I keep this one strictly for butter. Then I have one that I use strictly for barbecue sauce because I don't want the two to get mixed up. Because if I'm making bread, I don't want barbecue sauce if it's still in the bristles. This is a meat thermometer, and when you cook a turkey or a nice roast, you want to put this into the center of the meat, not against a bone, so that makes sure that it reaches the correct internal temperature. And if you look on here, it shows poultry, so the temperature, the thermometer should rise up to that temperature so that you know it's safe, heated it through enough, and cooked well enough that you could eat it. And there's one for ham. It says rare beef, lamb, veal, regular ham, and beef is well, medium. So all different temperatures for the different degrees of doneness that you would want. This happens to be one of my most favorite tools. I absolutely love it, and it's a garlic press. Get this off here. And what you do is you put your garlic bulb in here, and you flip this over, and you press it out, and the garlic comes out the holes right here. And then if there's some pulp left, you can take this part of this tool and scrape it off, and you have all your garlic. And then, because it's got all these little bitty holes and it's pressed down through, a lot of times it's always hard to get that garlic, get it cleaned out of there. So this has little pins that go kind of like a computer that go the opposite direction, and you just put it in there and it pushes it out. It's easy to clean, and away you go. But it's an awesome little tool. So if you can find a garlic press someplace, this is a good one to have. This is a melon ball scoop from watermelon, cantaloupe. You can scoop it in, you can make a nice round circle. Then the bottom has a hole in it for all the extra juice to run out. Here we have a tea strainer. This is You can put tea leaves, and it's a very fine mesh, very, very fine. And there are different times when you need to use that real fine, and it's not just for tea. I have 3 different kinds of peelers. These, you can call them potato peelers, you can call them vegetable peelers. They all do basically the same thing. Some people like one style over another. I happen to be partial to this kind or this kind. This one is just an ergonomical handle so that it's a little easier to hold on to. But use these to clean carrots, peel potatoes. You can even take the strings off of celery if you so choose. So just 3 different types. The ones we have in our kitchens are probably like this. This is a citrus zester or lemon, not a zester, a reamer. And you put this in cut the lemon in half, and you're going to ream it to get the juice out. Okay, that's what that is. If you don't have a lemon juicer, but it's a real quick thing to get a zest of lime, a zest of lemon. So it's a reamer. This is a citrus zester, and what you do is you run it over the outside of, like, the orange. And sometimes your recipe calls for zest of orange. So you're going to cut that, and you can get little pieces of orange peel, and that gives just a little bit of flavor to a recipe. So sometimes it will be lemon, zest of lemon, zest of orange, zest of lime, but it's for citrus in particular. And there's just little bitty holes at the top, and you saw me just run it across the, you don't get a lot, you just get the nice orange color. Our favorite, the pizza cutter. Come in a lot of different styles, different sizes, but that's the one I happen to have. This is another favorite tool of mine, one that you don't find usually in the store, but it is a meat chopper. Well, they call it a chopper stir. And when I'm cooking hamburger, whenever you cook hamburger, you're frying it in a skillet and it gets all clumpy. So what you do is you just chop that in the skillet. You can use it in a non-stick because it's not metal, it's really hard plastic, and it separates it. It really makes a great, works great on ground beef to get it all separated, and you can also use it to stir, but that's usually what I use it for, is ground beef. Before I showed you a pair of tongs, the traditional ones with the handles. This happens to be another kind. All you do is push this little knob in, and they open up, and you can pick up stuff with them. And when you want to keep them closed, then you pull the little knob back. It's silicone, so it doesn't get hot on the ends. Cheese slicer, handy thing to have. Can't live without it. This happens to be a grapefruit cut knife, and you cut around the outside of it, and then you cut down the sides of it, and you can lift those grapefruit sections out of the half, and it's a nice yellow color, just like a grapefruit, nice and bright and yellow. We just had, when you have Thanksgiving, this is a turkey baster, and you squeeze up the turkey juices, the broth, the liquid in the bottom, and squeeze it all over the top. Then this is the brush that goes along, and you can get down in there and clean it out really good. So they kind of go together. Another favorite tool of mine, I don't know if you can see the teeth on this, very sharp, but this is a strawberry cleaner, and it takes the tops out of strawberries, and you just scoop it down in, and that little green top comes out. And it's just really easy. It's a quick little trick to clean your strawberries. And it comes with a cover because it's so sharp. So I always keep that on there. This is a spork. It's for spaghetti. It's a spoon and it's a fork to lift those noodles to help serve those. It's a great tool for that. I don't know if you ever have used one of these, but this is a potato masher. So you cook your potatoes and then you mash them if you like them mashed by hand. Very easy to use. It's a fun tool to use. Another one I use constantly, and these are kitchen shears. And I use them for all kinds of things. They come apart, so they're easy to clean. And this is sharp, so I can open packages. This I can open cans with. There's a little thing to lift lids that you have to like pop cans or pop lids and stuff that you used to have. So there's all kinds of uses for this, but this is a very handy tool. And if you're going to use it to like cut chicken legs apart and stuff, you make sure you get them really clean. You always want them nice and clean. This is a very new tool, and it's a corn. It takes corn off the cob, and you take and you have your cob sitting up here, and you take it down, and it just cuts the corn off the cob. They call it a corn cutter, and a very, very simple tool to use. Makes life real easy if you're going to freeze corn. That's a great thing to do.